estimated 30,000 gypsies and travellers live in London on council sites, unauthorised encampments, and the majority in houses. Romany gypsies and Irish travellers are both recognised ethnic minorities, but despite this, the prejudice and discrimination we face has a huge impact on our everyday lives. We have lived in Britain for centuries. In London, our ancestors gathered at traditional stopping places in many parts of the city. Their skills range from chair caning and basket weaving to tinsmithing. Some were travelling showmen and fairground people, others worked alongside ordinary Londoners as seasonal labourers. But after the war, London rapidly expanded. It was becoming harder to survive using our traditional trades, and many of our traditional stopping places were replaced by housing. Families were forced to stop on derelict land and were moved on frequently. Campaigners began to lobby government to provide sites, and in 1968 the new Caravan Sites Act obliged councils to build sites. These new council-run sites made it possible for us to maintain our culture by living in caravans, and having a settled base made it easier for families to access education and health services. But in 1994, the Conservative government removed the duty on local councils to provide sites and increased the powers to evict. Since then, many council sites have been closed. Some families have provided their own sites but often failed to gain planning permission, leading to evictions from their own land. With no new sites built for the past 20 years and little hope of seeing any built in the near future, a huge crisis has been created for our community. Many families are still living on the side of the road, facing constant evictions, and the majority of traveller families in London have been forced into housing, isolated from their families and way of life, and facing increasing problems caused by the loss of cultural identity. Like the generations before us, we continue to campaign for more sites in London. What we hope for the future is to continue to live our traditional way of life on sites, for our culture to be recognised so that our children can have pride in their identity, and for gypsies and travellers to be finally accepted as part of the rich diversity of London.
We've sent in 500 postcards to Boris and he's ignored us, so we are going to send in 1,000 next time. He's passed it on to the councils. In 20 years the councils haven't built one site for travellers. They built a site in some boroughs and never continued on to build for the next generations. So we want sites and we want them now.
The effects of us living in houses is not understood. It's not understood by the politicians, not understood by anyone. We need more sites to live in. We need to be part of our culture.
I've worked for a long time with travellers communities in East London. I'll continue to do so. And this is basically about human rights. As the previous speaker has said, for virtually every other minority group in London, we have policies and strategies. And for the travellers community, we do have them. But what we tend to do is we make these policies and then the local councils and the Mayor of London then ignore those policies. And we need to make sure that they are heard and that you stand up for your rights as Londoners.